Do you hit the grocery store with a list? Or do you just raw dog it and go, I'll figure it out when I get there? So let's talk grocery store, especially feeding a family. I think that's it's an important kind of distinction because, if you're shopping for yourself, it's easy. You just pick out, some of the things you want for the week and you keep some of the staples and you're good. When you have a family, you've got usually picky kids to deal with. So what I'll do today is just kind of break down how I navigate the grocery store and just some quick tips just to keep the items in your cart from one, getting too wild and crazy and expensive, and two, becoming full of, just cheap, processed garbage. Because we don't want to feed our kids garbage. Fun fact. I don't know if any of you have seen the McDonald's lawsuit. That was a big deal. Jamie Oliver took them to court and won, basically forcing McDonald's to claim that their food is, especially their burgers, is crap. So big win in terms of kind of food transparency. But that may be a topic for another video. Anyway, grocery stores. So you may or may not have heard that the best way to shop at a grocery store is to stay around the perimeter. And that is largely true because around the perimeter, you have all of your refrigerated areas, which means the food is fresher, needs to be refrigerated. So usually what my typical grocery store run will look like is produce, meat, dairy, eggs, frozen. And there are a few exceptions for the middle of the grocery store that we'll talk about. So starting in produce, unless I have specific meals that I'm prepping, I prefer personally frozen vegetables. The reason for it is a lot of times they're flash frozen, so they are still good, still nutritious. They're not depleted. I wouldn't cook them in the microwave because there's some research about depleting nutrients there, but they're going to last you longer, especially if middle of the week you decide, I'm not going to make that meal, and then you waste food, which we don't want to do. So produce, I will get broccoli, peppers, onions, and I always have garlic on hand. Those are the big three that I religiously run through and that I can sneak into meals and the boys don't really notice as much. Broccoli is probably one of the easiest ones. Man, if you're not like chopping up broccoli really, really fine and sneaking it into food, you're missing out. So pastas, they don't even notice it's in there. You take a head of broccoli and just chop it up real fine, throw it in, tell them it's, part of the sauce. They'll never know. So broccoli, peppers, onions, and then garlic. Those are the four big ones. Frozen, I'll get, some peas, some carrots, maybe some Brussels sprouts, some odd ones here and there that I may or may not use, but if I don't, hey, they're frozen, so they stay good. Heading into meat now. Salads. I've started doing a lot more salads. The boys love salads. I was never a big salad guy. I always called it rabbit food. I'm sure most of you have too. But I recently got onto having at least one big salad. Usually it ends up being two per week, just to make sure I'm getting good fiber and eating more vegetables. Because at the end of the day, we should be eating vegetables. We should be getting those nutrients. So 1 to 2 salads a week, nice big healthy salads, throw some chicken on top, call it a day. All right, so meat. Now I am a huge fan of chicken thighs. I'm not so much worried about the little bit of extra fat that it contains. Right now, they're cheap. They've always been pretty cheap, but when you're feeding a family, prices have gotten stupid crazy, especially beef. I used to be able to get ground beef all the time, make it a, boy slop or just rice, meat, and some veggies and a sauce and call it a day. But now, ground beef has gotten so expensive that I've actually switched over to ground turkey or ground chicken, especially if it's on sale. But chicken thighs have always been a staple. Tastes like chicken. I think they're juicier. I think they taste better. But yeah, you can use them in just about every recipe. So chicken thighs will always go in my cart. And like I said, ground chicken, ground turkey, those have become kind of mainstays. Every once in a blue moon, we'll throw a steak down. But it's gotten to the point where you're feeding a family. Steaks get real expensive real quick. So those are the mainstays. I will do salmon every once in a while. Try to rotate that in. A lot of times that's where I'll go and look for things that are short dated on sale. If you know it's a Sunday and you're shopping, you're gonna meal prep, the 2-hour window that we talk about, it's not a bad idea to get some of those short date stuff because you're gonna save money and you're gonna get a lot more for your money, which is good. Frozen, we talked about frozen vegetables. Dairy, eggs. Eggs are huge. Eggs, egg whites. If you can get a farm fresh dozen, or someone who has chickens, because I feel like a lot of people have chickens nowadays, that's going to be better. The nutrient profile on those eggs is going to be better. I think they taste better. But either way, eggs have finally come back down in price. They're going to be best bang for your buck when it comes for protein. Those are going to be your morning meals, but you can have eggs any time of day. So eggs are a huge staple. We get that like 5 dozen pack and just get through that. I mean, honestly, in a week and a half. But cheap source of protein, definitely going to be a mainstay for eggs. I also will do yogurt, good for gut health. Boys like yogurt, so it's never a complaint. And again, it's got protein in it where they're getting that protein first meal done. And Oikos has the 000 vanilla, I think it is, 17 grams of protein per serving. And it tastes good. There's a little bit of sugar in it, but not a ton. So it tastes good. Kids eat it. I eat it. Milk. Kids go through a ton of milk. I'm cool with whole milk. Whole milk has never bothered me. Don't have a lactose issue, neither do the kids. So we'll keep a gallon of milk on standby and they'll drink it whenever they want throughout the day. And then the other thing would be every so often in the middle of the grocery store. So you're looking at things that are shelf stable, which typically will mean they've got some sort of chemical in them to keep them, non-perishable. So the argument that I will make for the middle of the grocery store is going to be your rice, your peanut butter, as long as it's, not super sugary. Some beans, like dried beans, if you want to keep those, they will stay long. And those are naturally more preserved. They're not, aside from the peanut butter maybe, they don't have a ton of extra crap in them to keep them shelf stable. They're just naturally shelf stable because they're dry and dry goods. Aside from that, I mean, you're going to want to stay away from most of the things in the middle of the grocery store. You're going to look at your, pastas. Pasta's a good one. Get the protein pasta. That's a cool thing. I just found protein pasta sauce, which I think is awesome. It's got 80 grams of protein for the entire jar. And the boy brain in my head tells me to drink it like a protein shake. I'm going to try to avoid doing that. But you mix protein pasta and protein sauce, all of a sudden you've got a meal that's 50 grams of protein and you're just eating pasta, which is pretty dope. So there are some good things in the middle of the grocery store, not a ton. So aside from those, obviously read your labels. If it's got more than like 5 ingredients, maybe, you're eating chemicals. It's not good for you. Every once in a while, it's fine. 80-20 rule, we know that. But by and large, feed your kids with, what they should be eating. Half the times I feel like we feed our animals better than we feed our kids sometimes. But yeah, grocery store, super easy. Even if you don't go in with a plan, you have a general mindset. I'm going to stick around to the outside, grab a few select items from the middle. You'll be golden, good to go. So we always want to fuel like a champion, fuel the race car. You don't want to put crap in because you get crap out. But that is it for today. Went a little long, but had a lot to say today. And get strong, show up, be the superhero your kids already know you are. Love you. Have a great week.